Okay, quick one today. I'm going to talk about a few players that have massive question marks over their head for next season at Chelsea Football Club. We're going to go through them nice and quick, make it nice and simple, because arguably we just need to know and get straight to the point or whether or not we think these players should be playing for Chelsea Football Club and what needs to happen. These are my opinions. Obviously, if yours are different, let me know. Thank you for all the feedback on the videos recently as well. It's been great. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. More Chelsea content, more Premier League and European Champions League content come to the channel nice and soon. First of all, we're going to talk about Raheem Sterling. Dropped one of the worst Chelsea performances, individual performances I've seen in a Chelsea shirt in so long. It was horrific last night. I think it's like 0 dribbles, 58% pass completion, 13 times he gave the ball away and obviously didn't manage to get a shot on target. For Raheem Sterling, it's gone so horrifically bad at Chelsea so far. A player that was such an integral part at Manchester City that won so much with them. He is actually the second highest English European goal scorer, and we are now seeing, or in the Champions League I should add, we are now seeing a player that is so confused on whether or not he wants to play well for Chelsea Football Club, because I truly believe he doesn't want Todd Boehly to benefit after being called out by him in the dressing room, as rumours suggest. So for me, Raheem Sterling, when you do something like that against Arsenal and you drop such a stinker, you shouldn't be wearing a Chelsea shirt until you're prepared to fight for the club, and you ultimately aren't showing that at the moment. However, with Raheem Sterling, I believe that if things were going well for Chelsea Football Club, then he would be a great addition to the squad. But ultimately, you want players that are willing to fight when things aren't going well. So look, if a big money bid comes in for Raheem Sterling, we can recoup most of what we spent. I'd be happy for him to go. But I truly believe that if the team was playing well, Raheem Sterling would be a great addition to that side. So for me, I'd like to keep him. But obviously, if we can recoup some of the money that we spent, then it's worth getting back. Number 2, João Felix. João Felix is a wonderfully talented, exceptional football player on his day. But at Chelsea Football Club, if you look at the stats and arguably his last few seasons at Atletico Madrid as well, he has not been good enough if you're looking at goal contributions and stuff like that. However, if you're paying money and you want to be excited by what you're seeing on the pitch, João Felix is an exceptional football player, sublime football player, a player that can simply put the ball between a player's legs or dink it over the goalkeeper and hit the inside of the post and it just roll out. He is a fantastic football player to watch, there's no doubt about it, and a player that excites me every single time he steps on the pitch for Chelsea, and arguably other times I've watched him as well. What I would like to add with João Felix is that we have Nkunku coming in the summer. This concerns me as it's an extra player added to an already packed area of the pitch for Chelsea Football Club. We have the likes of Ziyech, Pulisic, Mason Mount yet to decide their futures at Chelsea. And we need to decide what happens with them first. If they are all leaving and vacancies happen in that area of the pitch, then I'd say, look, head over to Atletico Madrid and approach a second loan. It is not worth spending that fee on João Felix when arguably the main thing Chelsea need to add to their side at the moment is goals, and he simply probably doesn't add that. He is almost what I would class as a luxury player, as we saw the other day against Brentford when he was waving his hands in the air. That brings me on quite nicely though to number 3. Number 3 I would like to talk about is Mason Mount. Mason Mount is a player that for a long time I questioned whether or not he should stay at Chelsea Football Club, because if he didn't want to sign the contract, he didn't want to sign the contract. But who in their right mind would want to commit to Chelsea Football Club right now under the ownership of Todd Boehly? I even worry about that as a fan. Obviously, I'm joking, but it's horrifically bad on Todd Boehly at the moment. And if it was my job and my career and my earnings, and I had to do it every single day and not be able to switch off, then yeah, I would be concerned too, signing into such a long contract with a guy who is proving to know absolutely nothing about football. I would worry about that too. So I get where Mason's at. Mason Mount is on pittance really compared to what other players are on at Chelsea Football Club who have achieved absolutely nothing compared to what Mason Mount has achieved at Chelsea Football Club. We're talking about a guy who has 2 Player of the Season trophies to his name, and the likes of Cucurella and other players are probably on the same, if not more, Aubameyang, Raheem Sterling, players that are failing to perform for Chelsea Football Club. Mason Mount is a guy who also has end product. If you're looking at the likes of João Felix, Mason Mount is guaranteed goals and assists. 9 times out of 10 that he plays the game. There are obviously periods in time, Mason Mount, where he struggled to find the back of the net or get assists. But I believe he's Chelsea through and through. I'd like to see Mason Mount stay. And the end of that Real Madrid game, when I saw him waving goodbye, if that truly is his last ever appearance for Chelsea, then that would probably bring a tear to my eye. I was sad watching him say goodbye to everyone. Mason Mount has been a fantastic player for Chelsea. I love the kid and would love him to stay. There's no doubt about it. I do not want to see Mason Mount playing for another team, especially one in the Premier League. But I understand as well, if Chelsea aren't willing to meet his expectations and Mason Mount has to leave Chelsea Football Club for the better of his career, then obviously I understand that as well, because that's just as important. But Mason Mount, for me, stay if things can be worked out. It pains me to think that he could potentially be wearing a Liverpool shirt. I want to talk about Mateo Kovacic. There's rumours that Mateo Kovacic wants a new challenge. Unfortunately, Mateo Kovacic, for the last, I want to say 10 games, probably just before Lampard's arrival, has not been good enough. The season under Lampard first, when Mateo Kovacic was on, well, he was signed from being a loan to a, obviously, permanent player under the transfer ban, was when we saw the transformation as a bang average loan player that none of us really wanted to an exceptional world-class football player in that midfield role. I truly believe that. Unfortunately, under Lampard again, we've seen a decline in performances from Mateo Kovacic. They haven't been good enough. They just haven't been good enough. It's almost back to the old, before the permanent signing of him that we've seen these last few weeks. It's difficult to watch. There's no fight. There's no desire from a player that often shows that in abundance. Mateo Kovacic is a fantastic player. I think actually he's decided that there probably is nothing to play for after Real Madrid. But his performances were declining before that. I also feel that his performances have been on the down since we signed Enzo Fernandez. I feel like they're doing very similar jobs, and you probably don't need both of them to do the same jobs in the midfield together. So, difficult one for me. If good money comes from Mateo Kovacic, I will wish him well and let him leave, because arguably I feel like the future of Chelsea Football Club wouldn't change that much if Mateo Kovacic played for us or not. As much as I love the bloke, Enzo Fernandez obviously is probably going to be the future of Chelsea Football Club in that role, just because of how much we've spent on him and the fact he's committed to a 9.5-year deal right now. So, look, Kova, fantastic football player for Chelsea. You've won the Champions League with us. I do not blame you if an offer from like Bayern Munich comes in or something and you want to go. So, it'd be closer to Croatia and things like that as well. Wish you well, Kova, but actually I believe that there's a high chance. And also, arguably, if he's playing well, should be playing European football, and you would want to see him playing football in the Champions League. Arguably, I'd love to see him play for Chelsea Football Club, but I also believe it's a great way to raise some funds, because people are aware of the ability of player of Mateo Kovacic. Unfortunately, performances in recent weeks haven't been good enough, and I'm going to combine the last two, Ziyech and Pulisic. Obviously, Pulisic, just injury after injury after injury, and actually a complete abysmal and dismal career so far at Chelsea Football Club. Has obviously won the Champions League and had a couple of highlight moments, but so much of it has been surrounded by ego and a false sense of security that's provided to him from the support that he gets from his American fans. Pulisic quite simply isn't as good as he or his dad believe, and for that reason alone, I'd rather just not have him at Chelsea Football Club. I find it hard to dislike any player that plays for Chelsea Football Club, but Pulisic for me is one of those players, and I genuinely think he should leave Chelsea Football Club. And the other one is Ziyech. Ziyech is such a weird one. Ziyech's future is at a team that allows technically gifted luxury players. I feel like João Felix and Ziyech fall into a very similar bracket, albeit João Felix has arguably had better performances than Ziyech for Chelsea in a shorter period of time. I believe that Ziyech's future lies elsewhere. Obviously, PSG wanted him, and that all fell through. I just think after the red card, Ziyech probably shouldn't be playing for Chelsea again. I have a lot of time for Ziyech, but I'd probably prefer to watch him and enjoy watching his football at another team where it didn't directly affect whether or not we won a game, and I just like to enjoy the pure talent that he has in his left boot. So Ziyech and Pulisic have to go for me this season, and we'll just recap the others. Raheem Sterling is obviously great to recoup some money, but I do think he'd be a valuable asset in a team that's winning. I think very similar with Mateo Kovacic as well, but again, maybe he's had his time at Chelsea Football Club and it's time for him to move on. A wonderfully successful time really for him on a whole for Chelsea Football Club. I would say Mason Mount, I would love you to stay. I actually really don't want to see Mason Mount leaving, and I believe that actually finding goals and assists and an end product from a type of player that he is getting more and more difficult these days. So Mason Mount for me embodies what it is to be Chelsea Football Club, and I would like him to stay, albeit I do understand if he leaves because I wouldn't want to be committing to Todd Boehly and the mess that he is bringing to Chelsea Football Club. João Felix, look, he's alone at best, and then he'd have to prove himself again. And that's it for me. I'm going to cover those. I know there's so many more at Chelsea that need covering, but they're like the biggest ones for me at the moment. Maybe we could touch on Azpilicueta and Chalobah and Aubameyang, and there's all these players, but quite honestly, I think they're probably not the biggest question marks at the moment. It's more likely that they'll just go, to be honest with you, or play to the end of their contracts. So that's it for me. Nice and quick. And let me know your thoughts. If you disagree or you want me to talk about anything else, then let me know. But I'll see you in the next one. And hopefully we'll have some more positive Chelsea news to talk about.